Hey, Bence, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Hi.
I have to totally preface this. I have never been in the position of the interviewer, so this is an absolute first. I hope it will go well. Just bear with me. This is literally my first time, and I cannot hide that I'm also a teeny little bit excited.
I'm also not a good interview person, I think. I tend to ramble a lot and so on.
Well, I would say you're passionate. Well, the good thing is, and this is how I try to make it, bearable for me, like the tension is, we're both here to do the same thing, which is to talk about something we're very passionate about, which in this case is art creators and sound. So that is nice. And I have to call you out on that lie because I, of course, did a little bit of research and I saw that you've already been on the Audiologs podcast of Dominic Katarina and Daniel Richer.
Oh, yeah.
And I would say that was a pretty good performance. So,
oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Thank you.
How you doing, Bence?
I'm good. I have to silence Slack somehow.
Yeah, I just did the same.
It keeps. I know that I'm supposed to be able to just. Oh yeah, here it is.
If you're using Windows, not sure if you know it.
Pause notifications.
Yeah.
Here it is.
You can do it actually for everything in Windows, which is convenient.
I'm attacked from every angle.
They know that this is happening, so now they have to counteract it.
Okay, now I am. Now I should be all set.
Awesome. So again, Bence, thank you so much for being here and for taking the time. I can imagine that you do have quite the schedule, so I really appreciate it that you took the time. Then I would say let's just get started. First and foremost, I think it makes sense if you would introduce yourself a little bit beforehand.
Yeah, my name is Bence Pajor, and I work as a sound designer and audio director at Embark Studios, and have been so from the studio's birth, more or less. I've been part of making both the finals and arc raiders. More arc raiders than the finals, but been part of both and working with the entire audio team here as well. So
awesome! Very happy to have you.
Before that, I used to work at DICE. And I used to work on the Battlefield games from very early on. I started, my first game was Battlefield 2, and that was my first gig as a sound designer as well. So it's been a long time and lots of shooting.
Shooting in so many ways, right?
Yeah.
If I may quickly interject here, for those who will probably watch it later, Bence has together with his colleague Olof, has actually already been on a podcast, the great Audiologs podcast of Dominic Katarina and Daniel Richer. And I don't want to take away from their podcast. And there, Bence and Olof talk a lot about, where they come from, etc. And I don't think it makes sense to repeat this and take away from this. So if you guys are very, very curious about the whole how we got there, basically, definitely check out the podcast. And now, specifically to you, Bence, a little personal thing beforehand. I really want to say a huge thank you to both you and probably everyone else from the former and maybe still DICE audio team and now Embark, because I can very confidently say that you guys are one of the main reasons that I actually ended up becoming a sound designer. And I know that it's the same for a lot of other people. Because Battlefield 3 has probably been the first game where I really realized the impact on sound, where I was so curious to, research how it is done. I got so curious about the systems, how everything kind of fit together, so that I started modding Arma 3 back then. And now I'm with Bohemia Interactive on the Arma franchise. So thank you so much to you and everyone else who might watch it. Thank you, really. It's been an honor and a pleasure to talk to you now.
That's fantastic to hear, actually.
No, I think so too.
I it's humbling to think about having inspired the people to for their work. I mean, that's a great privilege.
I can confidently tell you that you inspired a lot of people. So many people that I talk to in audio, they all say, not all, but many people will reference Battlefield 3 and learning about how you guys basically build around the Frostbite engine to make that more modular weapon approach, etc. Way back in the day when it wasn't very common. So many people reference that. Like it is really great, and you can be very proud of that. So awesome, really. Which kind of brings me to my first question, actually.
Yeah.
Now more related to Arc Raiders. I think it's a good starting point, given that we're here now. In the podcast, in the Audiologs podcast, Olof and you mentioned that you guys are basically immersion fanatics. And I really, really think it 100% shows in Arc Raiders, be it the worldization or your approach to doing stuff. But I don't want to take, so much away beforehand. So I would be happy to hear, what is your take on this whole immersion? What makes it immersive? How do you do it? What are the tools that you use for doing so? And please be free to ramble as much as you want, because that's why we're here.
Yeah, I think the fundamental thing is, I think, a desire to create fantasies for people to immerse themselves in, and I think that has always been a goal to make something that when people play it, they sort of drift away and don't really think of playing a game, but rather experiencing something. I mean, my personal inspiration is also reality. So I wish to make things that feel real. That's really a goal, and it doesn't really matter if the things that happen, if they aren't real, but if they feel real, that's my goal, to just make it feel like it's actually happening and so on. So, I mean, immersion, but it is, I think, in my taste, it's closely tied to simulation as well.
Mm-hmm. Interaction between the audio and whatever happens in the world.
Sort of simulating these situations where you end up and trying to make them feel as real as possible. So, I mean, a lot of work also goes into like physics, creating good physics interactions, and I mean, when you worked with audio, that's always it's a kind of a tricky domain to get it right, but we try to spend a lot of time making the game feel like some kind of simulation of the things that are happening.
If I may ask, what sort of, I guess, two parts. Do you have a specific approach to achieving this, like some sort of tool set that you keep reaching on, and that's the other part. How do you then actually implement it? Like, what sort of tools then do you use to do it?
I think one of the most important things for me is recording the content. So we record a lot, and I think it goes for most of the people working here at Embark with audio. We are very few, but the few of us we tend to record a lot because we've always done that. So we're quite used to the process, and I think it's the easiest, quickest way to get to good results, because you have a microphone. You don't need anything fancy really. You can more or less do it with any microphone and then you just record. Like, take the situations and the things you need for your game, and you just record them. I mean, if it's a game that looks kind of realistic, then it's just right there. You just perform the things that happen, and then try to sort that into content. And then that's the first part, of course. And then the second part is to get this content to play in a game. And I mean, that takes a lot of effort, of course. But it's like you have to be methodical and stick to your recordings. That's, I think, also a key. Because when you record stuff, it doesn't sound impressive when you record it. But that is also part of it. It's not impressive, but most things in real life aren't impressive. So you have to have all that to create this illusion of reality. And then for the more juicy stuff, you can exaggerate them slightly, and then you get this effect of the big stuff feeling big. But it to a large extent, it builds on all the other stuff being non-impressive. So, for instance, like a game like Arc Raiders, there is a lot of moving around in the game. So there is a lot of focus on Foley and just making the environments feel believable and not too how do I say? I mean, not too interesting is maybe a bad way to put it, but I mean, if you're standing in a room, there is like you don't hear much. I mean, and that's how I try to keep it just like kind of realistically boring, and then let all the machines and all the things do the talking. I think, yeah, I think it's important to realize what the things are that should have a bigger impact on the soundscape.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds to me as if you're very, very conscious about the contrasts and the dynamics that you put in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dynamics are important, and I mean, if you can make a game where you can have good dynamics, then it makes it easier to highlight the more dramatic things.
100%. Actually, that brings me to another thing that I personally was really interested in. I heard in the Audiologs podcast, Olof said that you guys basically started from scratch pretty much in the Unreal Engine in the beginning, coming from Frostbite, which I haven't worked in. But I remember that back in the day, HDR mixing was all the fuss. Like, everybody was talking about HDR mixing, how this is the way to go. Now, you said that you actually don't use it, and I actually wonder, just because you can't, or was there a conscious decision to not do it? How was that switch performed?
I mean, first of all, we didn't have any HDR and I mean, it requires quite a bit of work to build a solid HDR system. So it was one of those things that we decided to not do from the get-go, because we knew it was going to take a lot of time. So we focused on other crucial systems. And so we just started mixing with like set amplitudes for stuff. And I think personally, I've always liked mixing, and I think I might have like a kind of natural instinct when it comes to mixing. So it hasn't. I mean, it is hard, but I mean, after all these years, I feel that I kind of have a sense of what I want. So we just set just volume and loudness for things without an HDR, and we really started out super dynamic. And then we thought like, okay, we start out very dynamic, and then we'll see if we can take it to the end like that, or if we will have to
Were you able to?
things or mash things together. I don't know, but I mean, we started out, and then we could keep it. We have been using the passive sound mix modifiers that you can use in Unreal, and it's super simple. It just a sound basically triggers a one of these sound mix modifiers, and then on the receiving end you can tell each sound how much they will be affected by it. So it's very simple. It's set in a fixed time domain that you set up. So we've done that. So we actually, on Arc Raiders, we haven't missed having an HDR. Also because, I mean, the Arc Raiders is a game where there's a lot of time where there aren't any really loud sounds happening. So you can play for a long time without there being too much action. We came up with the idea of HDR on Battlefield because there was constant action, and it was difficult to mix the game in a good way without the HDR, because we had a lot of sounds playing at the same time, and a lot of them were loud. So it was really a way of just handling the onslaught of loud sounds and still not just creating a mush of sounds. So it was a good way of basically sorting. But then in Arc Raiders, these action-packed moments, they are not so frequent. So we can let it be loud when it's loud and not worry so much. And I mean, it's also a game where you can use this fact to your advantage. I mean, you can mask your attack by creating loud sounds and then traversing in the cover of loud sounds, for instance, which is nice that you don't have a bunch of systems interfering with that. So I think it's also a tactical choice to be able to stay stealthy in the cover of loud sounds.
Super interesting, like really super interesting approach. And I gotta say, yes, the mixing in Arc Raiders, in my opinion, is phenomenal. Like everything sits exactly where I would expect it to sit. So incredible work, really, really,
Yeah,
really, really, really good stuff.
that's nice to hear.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like when I started up for the first time, quick input from my side, we also decided on the Arma series to use a more static mix, not do too much ducking, etc. And when I joined the company back then, I was still kind of riding the wave of, we need HDR mixing, all the cool guys do it. And I very much found also this appreciation of just having the static mixing, knowing when stuff will sound which way. I think it's, if you don't have to, as you put it, constantly battle against the actual, sounds of battle, it is just also way easier to work with, I feel. Having never worked with HDR though, but I can imagine that, it is probably something that where you can just do something and immediately see the result. And you don't have to fight against these systems that try to do something else then and kind of probably work against it. But of course, you're the expert on that, right?
Yeah, I mean it can be tricky, and it was definitely. I mean, we made the system, but it was also like quite a learning curve for ourselves to tame that system. And I think we also started to make exceptions to it in the later games, like BF1 and BF5, and that. Also, of course, when you start making exceptions, it starts getting trickier as well. So it's not super intuitive to work with it. So yeah, it is kind of hard, but it was really necessary for us, and it was a great tool to tidy up the mix in some of those Battlefield games.
Mm.
And I mean, we have been discussing it at Embark too. Like, should we have one? And we've been talking about maybe modifying the passive sound mix modifiers. We actually have done that as well to make some kind of really poor man's HDR in some cases. I mean, because a lot of things come also for free with HDR. Like the sound mix modifiers, you can't modify how much they modify. It is a set value, and either you can set thresholds. Either it triggers the modifier or it doesn't.
It's kind of the point of the system, right?
Yeah, but with the HDR, you could get, like, for instance, let's say an explosion goes off, but it's quite far away. And you still want it to affect the mix a little bit, but not too much. And then that becomes, in a HDR environment, it will come for free. Like, you have an explosion, but it's not so loud. So it will affect the mix a little bit less than if it was close. But so these are the things where you sort of wish for it again, because in this case, you basically have to choose, like, when it's not louder than this, it won't affect anything. And if it's louder than this, it will have full effect in the mix modifier. So, yeah, but I mean, those are details. But I mean, eventually you get to the details.
Oh, yeah, you sure do.
Yeah.
That brings me to another point, actually. I think it's nice to bring it up now. I remember that Olof said that he actually kind of got a little bit more into the coding side of things because you were kind of using the naked Unreal Engine side. And for some reason, you couldn't use meta sounds, right? If I may, what's up with this, by the way? Why not meta sounds, if I may ask?
We are on a older version of Unreal 5. So, I mean, there are a few, like, performance issues for us. So we we can't use too many meta sounds. Our Creators is also it's an extremely performant game, so our low spec is very low, and that's also one of the reasons that we have to keep it super performant. But I guess meta sounds will get performant in the future. So
then it is mainly a performance issue.
It's only a performance.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So otherwise, you would have maybe be inclined to make more use of it.
Yeah, I mean, we do use it in some places, but we have to stay extremely performant. So that's why we don't use it. I'm sure it's more performant in later versions of Unreal, but not for us at the moment. But I mean, in the few places we use it, we can rewrite it to either do it in code or do it in a sound cue. I mean, I like sound cues. It's super simple. You can play sound, and then you just have to make a good sound.
Sound design in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Which brings me now back to the question that I initially wanted to ask. So Olof then started to create some additional stuff for the sound system, and I think it was AngelScript. I'm just personally very curious if you can give some examples of what those things are. Like, what was added to the sound engine that you use the most, that really had like a large impact, where you say, "Yep, that's ours. We need this."
I mean, we use these AngelScript things all over the place. So it's really everywhere. But I mean, it just makes, it's a performant way of doing like blueprints and sending parameters to sound cues and so on. So it's really, a very performant way to handle things, and also to not create too many different kind of blueprints. This way, it's easier to fix things and debug things, and it's easier to use it because it becomes more of a set framework to solve certain things, instead of just freebasing in blueprints. But I mean, it's really everywhere. But I mean, it's very prominent, I think, the way we detect when you move through environments and all of the like wind and brain and all of the things that are going on around you is basically detected by these AngelScript systems, and the way we handle acoustics and reverbs and all ambiences, all of that is done through these proprietary AngelScript systems. And also like these comb filter effects that happen when things move around you and so on. Those
One
are
of my
also
favorites, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's super effective. So yeah, it's everywhere. So yeah, I mean, it's so good.
Awesome. Yeah, I can imagine, especially if you have somebody on the team who can basically just write something down. Hey, we have this need, and it happens, right?
Yeah,
also very appreciative of our
in that
programming
case,
team
it's
here.
also the same person who writes the system can also set it up with the sounds, and then you just start working with it that way, back and forth, and then you get it to do what you want.
So it sounds as if you have like a very short, or should I say, a short pipeline then between, the technical implementation and then actually, working with it and iterating on it, right? Pretty much, especially to your needs.
Yeah.
Actually, that leads me to another question. I know that, what's his name? I think Stefan Strandberg, right? He was the audio director back then on Battlefield 3, but now he is your chief creative director, I think it is.
Yeah.
Was it like, do you think it was, or how should I put it? Was it helpful to have somebody in a position like this who is so versed in audio? Like, did this influence your development as well, or are you guys more decoupled?
No, we work very closely.
Awesome.
So yeah, of course, that's a huge advantage. I mean, I've worked with Stefan since Battlefield 2, and we've shared rooms for years, and we worked on a lot of the Battlefield games together. So, and I think for him it was a natural extension to become creative director. He was creative director on Battlefield 1 as well. So he started working as a creative director already like a long time ago. And he was sort of doing that already on like the Bad Company games. Even though he was working in audio there too, he was doing a lot of the creative direction work as well, with doing all the inspirational concept videos and all of that he was doing from the get-go. I think it's just a natural part of him wanting to create immersive experiences. So I think, I think we've sort of been discussing these things for 20 years.
It's very synced up by now, I can imagine.
Yeah, so it's very nice to have him as the creative director, because he usually he makes his own like sketches of everything, and he does great inspirational videos, and then he sound designs them as well. So it sort of comes on a silver platter, and he can. I mean, the ideas are often very, very clear, and then we might discuss what we do with them. So it's very nice, and he has the same wish for realistic sounds as I do. So it's very easy to work on Arc Raiders because we have the same taste. So
you basically came in and it was kind of clear which direction to go together, I guess, right?
Yeah. It wasn't really a discussion.
Awesome. All right. So while we're at the more personal side of things, I actually wanted to ask this earlier. I just the other stuff was too interesting. So you said you're a very small team in the audio side. So how many guys are there?
We have a few sound designers. We have one like dialogue person per game, so 2. And then we also have a dialogue designer who's also an engineer. So a guy called Simon, who has we've all been working together for a long time. So Simon started out as a QA person on DICE, and then he started coding quite early, and then he just took off completely. So he's the mastermind of creating all the dialogue systems and ping systems and all of that. He's also done a lot of fundamental parts of the angel scripting for Arcade, like music system, the weapon playback system, and a lot of these things. So he is also a great part of the Arc Raiders sound. And then and then we have Olof, who is doing programming and sound designing. And then there's a couple of other. We have a completely like a real audio engineer as well, the adult in the room, as we often call him.
What is a real audio engineer?
Yeah, I mean, he does.
Are you not a real audio engineer?
C++ part of the things, like the things that we just don't, that no one understands.
So on the programming side of things.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the low-level stuff, like getting weird things to work. And also it's Marcus Dimdahl, who he used to do DSP programming for like audio applications, and then he's been working on Avalanche and Ubisoft. So he's a old, really skilled engineer. So he has done a lot of the really difficult low-level stuff, and he has written the panner that we use, because we have a custom panner for the game. And and he's optimizing stuff and like basically taking care of all the weird bugs that we don't understand. So and then we have 2 sound designers as well who have mostly been working on the finals, Carl Strandberg and Andreas Almström.
Mr. Guns.
Yeah, and those are also old colleagues from DICE. So we've all been part of working on the Battlefield games. So it is a little sweet tag team. So we are not. It's really a small group, and I think it's also been our strength to not be too many.
I feel that your vision is also very aligned in the sound design team, right? The direction. Hearing you and Olof speak, for example.
Yeah. I mean, we are so small and we've been working together for such a long time that we never really discuss direction because we're so used to how we want things to sound and so on. And all of us has the same approach, more or less. So it's just a matter of just getting things done. And at the same time, of course, we feedback on one another's work all the time. So
I heard that you even work on each other's sounds, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's no single responsibility, really. It's more like, hey, I hear this, I would like to tweak it, and I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
I think this is only really possible if you're so aligned.
It's a quick way of working as well. If someone is inspired and they clearly hear that I have an idea for this thing, and then it's just easier to let the person do it or have the person iterate on the sounds and just submit it. So that's such a nice workflow.
Oh yeah, I think like the people you work with are super important. I'm also blessed with great colleagues, so I'm very happy that it's the same for you, because it's not a given. Like I know there can be so much resistance, and not having that is a blessing at work.
Yeah, yeah, it's really fantastic.
The thing is, I was wondering, do I have enough questions? And as always, now time starts running out. So I'm going to go a bit more into the, the meat and potato kind of things. Because obviously a huge part of Arc Raiders in the end also still is the shooting. I'm kind of, a weapons guy myself. I love designing weapon frameworks, the weapon sounds. We did like a bullet sonic crack recording session. I really wanted to get shot at to experience what it sounds like, where other people would be like, totally. So I'm very, very curious, of course, what your approach to weapon sound design was, both from a, let's say, more philosophical perspective, but also the technical perspective. Like, do you still do it in different layers? Basically, whatever comes to mind. I'm really curious. Weapons.
Yeah, I mean, again, like realistic sounds there are key, I think, to get that visceral feel. I mean, for weapons, real weapons are super scary. It's super loud. It's I mean, when you hear it on sight, it is fear-inducing. So that is, of course, an important part of it. So we do the recordings for guns as well, and try to record in the environments we plan to have, and then try to record the different calibers and all of that.
So you did most of the weapon recordings yourself, or is it more library-based and some additional recordings?
No, we did it ourselves together with Pole Position Productions. So also we've been working with them for ages. We used to fund recordings together before. So then
the warfare libraries.
Yeah, we got the money and the gear, and then we recorded, and then we shared the recordings. So that has been a collaboration for many years, and also with a guy called Frank Bry, also known as the Recordist.
The Recordist. Great guy.
So like huge props to Frank as well. He has been so kind to let us stay with him in his house, and we've done a lot of recordings with him as well. So I mean, almost everything we use, we've also been part of recording, also together with Boom libraries. So it was maybe a kind of a strategic thing as well to do recordings together with other studios. It proved to be very good, because when we quit DICE, we couldn't use any of the stuff we had recorded because EA owns everything that you record while working there. So even though we recorded stuff with our own gear and on our free time, it belongs to EA. So we couldn't use that.
Beautiful.
Luckily, we had recorded a lot of things together with other recording companies. So at Embark, we could buy the recordings back legally for all the things that we did together with others. So
still a very weird position.
Yeah, we could just buy back a lot of the material that we had done, because I mean, we knew the material and we knew how we had done it, and we recorded it in a way that we wanted. So for us now, it was easy because the material was already in a form that we were used to dealing with. So But then, we also bought a lot of Frank's recordings with silencers. Those we were never part of recording ourselves, but he has some great recordings with silencers, and also some of his bullet recordings.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it is our own, some of it are his, and some of it we've bought from friends here in Sweden who also do just bullet recordings.
As you do in Sweden.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, the content is a huge part of it, and it's usually, we usually use it in a very natural state.
Natural meaning?
We don't do much processing with the recordings. It's mostly just gain and a little bit of EQing, and some transient shaping is needed as well sometimes, depending on what you're doing. But so those are the main ways that we manipulate the recordings.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for the insights. Amazing. Also the whole ownership thing. I mean, contracts, man. So what about the actual implementation then? Do you still, layer them? What is a weapon setup, and what does a weapon setup in Arc Raiders look like on the technical level?
It's split up in parts of the weapon and also distances. So, like there is the low end thump of the weapon sound, and that is separated, but it runs at 3 or 4 different distance recordings. So that's one part. Then we have the environmental response. That's also split into calibers, then split into distances, split into a type of environment. And mechanics of the weapon in different ways. And then the whole setup is in the game, when you upgrade your weapon, or when you can put weapon mods on, and then basically our system handles that. Like a suppressor has the sound of the suppressor itself, and then it modifies the weapon. So the suppressor informs the rest of the weapon's different parts, how they will be affected when the suppressor is attached. And that way we can keep the illusion of that it is the actual weapon that you are modifying, because we are modifying the actual weapon you have. And when you upgrade it, we change parts of the weapon to other sounds, but some parts are kept. So it feels like you're just slightly modifying the base weapon. So,
is it sample based, or do you use a lot of DSP for that?
No DSP.
Mm-hmm.
It's purely sample based. So there is a lot of content switching going on. So, I mean, the content has to be created very carefully and very consistently to make this whole thing to work. So it kind of demands a very stringent discipline to create all the content. But once you've done that, and once you've made the whole framework, then things kind of work automatically. So now to set up a new weapon, it basically doesn't take more than a few minutes, and then then there is, of course, a lot of fine tuning, and then like really trying to get it to sound the way you want. But it's very quick to make a new weapon out of an old one and just modifying parts of it and so on. But it's split up into layers, and those layers are then affected by distance, and that's the most simple part of it. So distance and environment, and we sort of try to understand the environment from other systems, and then that will inform how we maybe blend an outdoor reflection of a weapon and an indoor reflection of a weapon, and so we can seamlessly move between areas and sizes of rooms. And also, I mean, depending on the information we get from the constant raycasts we do around the players, we can sort of gather and guess what kind of environment it is, and then it will blend the different recordings, and so the result is we don't know exactly how a weapon will sound in every situation, but we sort of fine tune these systems until it just naturally blends into, and nothing like sticks out anywhere. But that's, in short, that is how it works.
Yeah, so also, again, a very systemic approach. And they sound great, by the way. Like, I love your use of what I think is also a little bit of tasteful clipping in there to give that edge. It's beautiful. I was very, very looking forward to dissecting the weapons a little bit, and I noticed how careful you are also with the low end. Like, the Stitcher still sounds so powerful, it sounds so crunchy, but there's barely anything between like 80 hertz, and it still sounds so chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Like you, amazing job, really. I was like, how? Just how?
Yeah, I mean, it's the low end. The low end is that's always the hard part. It's
everything fights for it.
It's so tempting to add low end to things, because it's just like when you listen to it alone, it just sounds nice to have a lot of low end. But then when you have to, you have to balance the whole arsenal of weapons, and you can't have too much low end for the small weapons.
But again, at dynamics and the scaling.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to also save low end for the explosions. I mean, if they are going to have any chance of sounding bigger than a gun, they have to get their low end. And I mean, you only have so much low end in a pair of speakers.
Let alone headphones.
You just have to be super careful. I mean, and there's a lot of, like, a gun is not only low end. I mean, the mids are super important as well. And then just trying to shape the transients in a way that they come through but don't occupy too much space in the time domain. I mean, it's meticulous work, but you can, I mean, I usually edit all the different parts of the gun in the same project in a DAW. So I can listen to all of them and just tweak them and make sure that they differ enough, but at the same time that they're close enough, so it's easy to interchange them and to keep this modular system balanced.
Mm.
And then, I mean, you can pitch those things as well in Engine, so you can still make a little bit of a thinner version of a bigger sound just by pitching it up a little bit, moving the low end a little bit higher up. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work, but I mean, the game is also focused around shooting, even though you don't shoot too much, but you sort of anticipate shooting a lot.
It's building towards it usually,
Yeah.
right? Mm.
Yeah, and then when you finally press the trigger, you really want it to be something, and you really want it to be this special moment of fear and energy.
And you guys did a great job with that. Bence, just very quickly, you told me that you have to go in basically 35 minutes. Are you good to go with 10 more minutes? Or
Yeah.
10, 15? All right, awesome. Just want to
I
make
can
sure
go
that...
15. It's easy. I mean, I can be out of here in 5 minutes. So
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure that I don't pressure you into being like...
No, I'm not stressed.
Okay, good. Yeah, but still, again, I told you, I thought I don't have enough questions. Now time's running out. So let's try to make it a bit more rapid fire stuff, because I'm really interested about some things.
Just interrupt me.
No. Like, I don't want to interrupt you. That's the issue. Anyway, while we're at the more system-driven stuff, I'm really, really curious. One of the things that really stood out to me is how subtle yet prominent and well you guys handled the slapback system, for pretty much everything. You walk somewhere, you hear your own footsteps, etc. Can you tell me something about that? Like anything. Like, it's one of the standout things for me for the entire game. It grounds the soundscape so much.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So it's yet another of Olof's systems. Yeah, I mean, we've been working a lot with that, and it's a way also to glue all the recordings together. Because, I mean, every recording has the footprint of the environment it is in. And, I mean, when you move through a game, you move through 1,000 environments. And you can't switch content for each environment. That's just impossible to handle. So we have to use, I mean, in a lot of cases, we have to use the same samples, but we have a big desire to model everything so you can feel the environment, so you can feel when you're walking. And now I'm walking, and now the walls come closer, and I really want that to be a thing, because I mean, that's something that we've been thinking about a lot when we just walk around in real life, that if you think about it, the environmental affects the sounds you hear to a huge extent.
Massive.
Much more than you think. But when you start listening for it, it's extreme. So we've always had this desire to try to model that somehow. And I mean, doing real acoustic calculations it's just still not there. I mean, you would have to have a few dedicated GPUs to even come close. And then, I mean, to just do these calculations and get them in a working system, I mean, it's still far away. I'm sure we will get there, but we're not there. So we have to do a lot of cheating. And then these slapbacks, it's like also a poor man's acoustics. We do these, and we have a bunch of them, and they are hooked up to our panner that we use as well.
So there's multiple slapback
everything
systems?
is integrated in this thing, and then basically in Unreal you can set up attenuation settings for sounds, and it's basically a template for how a sound will, the fall off curves and reverb sends, etc. And there we can also control how much we let sound, how much we send to our slapback system. And and that in turn does a lot of things on its own, because there is, of course, it's hard to just use a digital delay because it will do a lot of phasing. I mean, there is a lot of phasing going on in real life as well, but it becomes, a real environment is so complex that it's not just a simple, it's not just a simple slapback. There are so many things that happens to a sound on its way to a wall and back to you.
Even through the air.
Yeah, I mean, that removes a lot of these like easily detectable phasing. So we do a lot of things to prevent that kind of bad phasing. So we filter it before we send it in different ways, and we try to give physics surfaces different reflectivity and so on, just to everything to sort of approximate and fake real acoustics. So, but we are quite generic with this. We let basically everything leak into this to tie it together, so we can sort of smudge the edges of the recordings.
It works so well.
Yeah, it does. So it actually does work really well. I mean, sometimes there is a little bit of bad phasing, and it's unavoidable. But the pros are more than the cons. So, and we want to keep it as generic as possible. So we sometimes just massage the content a little bit to not behave so phasey.
A little. Sorry, go ahead.
But I mean, yeah, it's a little phasing can be okay sometimes.
Yeah, a little fun fact on this part. I initially didn't intend to actually get arc radars because, the time and it's a multiplayer shooter, competitive. So I was very much content with just watching videos initially, that's a very well sounding game. And what really inspired me to get arc radars is when I heard a drone flying by and I heard that you guys modeled the acoustic interference from the ground. Like you could hear the comp filtering. And I was like, That's it. And now I have 100 hours in the game. So thank you for that. My best friend and I have been very busy over the past 2.5 months. So, those details really, really matter. They really, really matter. And you guys did a fantastic job at implementing them. And it really shows the dedication to not just sound design, but sound itself, if that makes sense. And I personally really appreciate that you guys are so passionate about it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's also when you do a lot of recordings, you start to recognize these things from recordings. And it's like, this is what, like when, you record an airplane or a helicopter and also, I live where I live. There is a military base, so there is a lot of helicopter traffic to and from the place where I live. So I always have this opportunity to hear helicopters come and go, and it's like, there's this comb effect, this comb filter effect is so prominent on stuff like that. And I mean, it's just something that you kind of want. And then when you design a sound, and you can put some of that into the sample, of course, itself. But I mean, depending on how long it is and so, you can also start hearing it. But if you build a system that also does these things, then again, you can hide a lot, and you can really get this sense of distance to a thing when it's moving, because it's something that your brain recognizes from reality, and it's
like, there doesn't need to be a translation, basically, because it is the way it is supposed to be.
Yeah. And I mean, the real effect is, of course, much more complex, because there are so many surfaces, and depending on what sound it is, the sound pressure levels, and I mean, it all affects this. But also, a simple version of it does a lot of the work.
I feel I could listen to you, or we could discuss this for hours. I think you're just as passionate about this as me, and time is running. But anyway, Bence, I initially also wanted to ask some questions regarding the actual arcs, but I think it would be now a bit too short squeezed, and you already answered quite a few questions regarding these in the interview with audio logs. So maybe to kind of wind it down a little bit, a little question and then another one. The first little question is, was there anything for you that you look back that was both or two things that were very particular challenging, where like, oh yeah, I really remember this being a pain in the ass, and something that was very, very rewarding, like for you, where you really like, oh, I'm so glad we did this, and whenever I, hear the game, I'm happy that it's in now.
Yeah, I mean, our biggest challenge has been the ARC machines, especially the big ones. Making big machines, I have found it really difficult. And interpreting their movements have been a huge challenge. I mean, you look at something big and how it's moving, and you have this vision of how that would sound, and then getting that into like physics responses, and just setting the whole thing up and managing the size and all of that, that's been very hard. So that's I think still it's the single most difficult things is getting to get these machines to sound as you expect them to sound. So that's still difficult, and we're still working on that, and there's still a lot of work left there to do better than what it is. Especially like when a thing is huge, you expect to hear it on a large distance, but I mean, you have to author sounds for something huge in a distance, because it's impossible to do with DSP and reverbs. It's not impossible, I guess, but it's really hard to make it really convincing. So yeah, those are still things that we're working with, and will improve over time. And if there was a single big win, it's hard to.
There's too many wins.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, I'm happy with how the weapons sound. They are natural and so on. Yeah, and I mean, using real Foley for things is also a big win. I mean, just this moving about, it may seem like a boring thing, but it's really very important. And I'm happy that we went through all this work of recording everything. So I think that's one of the big wins, just recording all the Foley.
It definitely paid off. It sounds great.
It makes a big difference.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Bence, I do have a little guest gift for you, but I will hit you up regarding this later after the call. To maybe some finishing words from my side. It's been an absolute blast. The time really flew. As I said, I could, talk with you, I guess, for hours. I just really want to say that I hope that Embark knows how lucky they are to have people like you who are so passionate about what they're doing, because it is, I just hearing you talk about the acoustics, and understanding the way things sound is a joy, and it shows how passionate you are about it. And it seems, even though you're like in this business now for, I think, over 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Like you're still you seem so interested, so intrigued, always happy to learn new stuff and still so passionate. And that's just great. And I'm happy for you that you can still do what you definitely apparently love. Again, thanks for, having this talk. I will try to honor the time you put into this. Any last words from you? Anything you want to say, being regarding our graders or whatever?
No, I mean, I'm happy you wanted to do this little thing, because I like to talk about these things, and I really wish to inspire people and to encourage them to, do their own recordings and just stick to their ideas. I think that's also like one of those important things. Stick to your ideas, stick to your recordings, and there will be a good result. So I really hope to inspire some people.
Oh, you already did, and I'm sure you will continue to do so. Thanks so much, Bence, really.
Thank you.
For those watching at home, feels weird to say, don't forget, I mentioned in the beginning, if you want to hear more about Bence and also some of his colleagues, there is the Great Audiologs podcast, where they also talked for more than an hour about our graders and other things about themselves and their career, starting at DICE and even before that. So definitely check it out. It's great. Bence, again, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. And I'll hit you up again. But maybe we'll hear from each other again in the future. Maybe not, no matter what. It was great to talk to you. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
All right, Bence, it's been a pleasure.
Take care.
Take care.
Nice talk.
Bye-bye.